Welcome to First Take Live from Disneyland as we continue the handoff to Super Bowl 61 here on ESPN. Look at these fans. They're up early. The park hasn't even opened yet here in Anaheim, California. But they came here early just to watch an episode of First Take. How lucky are we? Good morning, everyone. Happy post-Super Bowl. Stephen A., Shea Cornett, Cam Newton, Ryan Clark, Marcus Spears. I know you guys are on minimal sleep, but that's okay. We're going to crank through this thing. How we feeling today? Good?
Good.
How you feel? Listen, we by Mickey's house.
I know.
You can't help but feel good. It's a magical day, Stephen A.
I believe so. I believe so. And by the way, the suit game,
Yeah.
you said you was going to bring it Monday. Very fresh. I'm very proud.
I appreciate you.
I'm very
How many
proud.
suits do you pack? Because you've been going for a long 757,000.
Hey, Cam, this is why you packed this one, because my phone can't ring from ESPN for 3 more months.
That's right.
Relax.
This is the swan song. Let's get to last night. Let's get to Super Bowl 60 and what we witnessed before our very eyes. The Seahawks just blew out the Patriots last night. 29-13 the final. They won Super Bowl 60. The Seattle defense was relentless, sacking Drake May 6 times, picking him off twice, including that pick 6. The offense was led by Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker, who had over 100 yards on the ground to help the Seahawks just run away with the game. Here's Sam Darnold, the Super Bowl winning quarterback, post-game.
I didn't have my best stuff today, but the team had my back. Our defense, our special teams had our back, and we just played how we always played. Resilient, and we're came out on top. So it was pretty special.
All right, so now we had a few hours to really reflect. Cam, were you surprised by the Seahawks' dominance last night?
No, it was expected. And, it was a ticking time bomb that we knew or we expected to see the dominance of Seattle's defense all year. We've seen it all year. They had a great display yesterday. But I think I was surprised by how long it took the New England offense to get going. That was what I was most surprised about. But that's what you say. Offense wins games, defense wins championships. Mike Macdonald had those guys biting. And to put on that display in front of the world was something that is remarkable, and shout out to Seattle.
Yeah, if you think back to the whole week, it kind of sounded like everybody was leaning towards this version of Seattle, New England. And to your point, Cam, you looked at throughout these playoffs, these games that the New England Patriots won, they were all nail-biters. You go to Denver, the weather is inclement, but it's Jarrett Stidham, and you get out of there 10-7. It takes 4 interceptions and a fumble from C.J. Stroud while Houston was in that game for majority of the game, even though you come away with a win. The Seattle Seahawks did exactly what we expected them to do from a defensive standpoint, based on the holes that we saw from this offensive line, based on the protection issues that they showed throughout the playoffs. The other thing was this, too. Sam Darnold did the one thing he needed to do in this game, and that's not turn the football over, right? Yeah. And give his defense an opportunity to do what they've been doing all season. So I thought it was a phenomenal performance, but it was absolutely a mark performance for the Seattle Seahawks. This is how we've seen them play outside of playing against the L.A. Rams.
Honestly, I'm surprised because of this. I had so much respect for Mike Vrabel. I had so much respect for Josh McDaniels. Drake May, it was only one vote that separated him and Matthew Stafford from who was going to win the MVP. We didn't want to disrespect Mike Vrabel and those guys all week, and I feel like the way that the Seattle Seahawks prepared, they didn't as well until they got on the field. You could see early on in this game that it was a mismatch. You knew that the rosters weren't the same. On the back end, the Seattle Seahawks had every confidence that they wouldn't get beat over the top. They were aggressive in tackling, and early on in the game, when the New England Patriots tried to start with the run, and Ramondre Stevenson was getting stuffed even out of cover 2, even in split safety. It was a game. You knew that Will Campbell would not win on his side. He gave up 14 of the 19 pressures that the New England Patriots were under. But then it was the creativity by Mike Macdonald. This was, in my opinion, akin to what Bill Belichick did to Sean McVay when they met up with the Los Angeles Rams. It was complete dominance from a coaching level, and that trickled down to the players.
I found myself being sympathetic, feeling sorry for the New England Patriots defense because they showed up. They really, really did. I mean, they were in this game up until the pick 6, obviously. They were in this game. And I'm just looking at it from the standpoint, you had 28 quarterback pressures. You're the Seattle Seahawks, okay? Only blitz 13% of the time, which means you were sending your 4, okay? 4 dudes was getting to Drake May. You know, DeMarcus Lawrence had 7 pressures for crying out loud. You had, you just look at them, and I just say to myself, damn, they really had no chance. That's why I said to J-Mac, Jason McCourty, weeks before, you know, the minute the AFC Championship game was over, they said, well, are we sleeping on the New England Patriots? I said, no, I'm snoring. I wasn't worried about it at all because their offense is what I did not have faith in. What was I talking about leading into this game? I was talking about an offense that was averaging about 18 points per game in their 3 playoff games before, three playoff games before the Super Bowl yesterday, and I said, how are you going to score? I know that the Chargers, the Texans, and the Broncos have big-time defenses. They weren't Seattle's defense. They weren't ranked #1 in points allowed all season long. This was the Seattle Seahawks, and I knew these brothers were going to be hunting and to send 4 guys and to apply that kind of pressure. Drake May never had a chance. You bring up Mike Vrabel, RC, and I get that because he's the head coach. Last time I checked, Josh McDaniels was supposed to be boy wonder as an offensive coordinator. Not only that, he was a former head coach in the National Football League with the Raiders, okay? And I looked at him yesterday, and I felt sorry for Drake May as well because he's in the 2nd year. Yeah. He's going up against a monster defense. You've got to be ready. And you know what? You know why he looked nervous? Because he recognized very, very early, damn, our game plan, this ain't going to work. And Josh McDaniels didn't seem to know or have the ability to do anything about it.
So, Stephen, here's the thing. Like, scheme can only save you for so long.
Right.
Like, this was just a natural butt whooping by individuals for the Seattle Seahawks. If you looked across the field all night, it was dudes winning one-on-ones on every level from a defensive standpoint. Look, they were Hail Marys. Those were Hail Marys they scored touchdowns on. Like, that was just a player making a play. But for the vast majority of this game, New England looked undermanned from an individual standpoint. You talk about the pass rush. When they did bring pressure 7 times, 6 of them got home. When they rushed 4-man, I'm sure the pass rush win rate had to be above 60%. So when you think about the odds that Drake May was against, when you think about the things that he was going to have to overcome, and we talked about his legs and the ability to scramble, all of that sounds good until, like Mike Tyson said, you get punched in the face, right? And it just wasn't there. He looked to scramble. He looked to try to make secondary plays. Seattle had New England's number, and nothing speaks to that more than when those players were interviewed, Love in particular. The reporter asked him, when did you guys know you had this game? He said after the first series of the game. Now, that is a bold statement when you start talking about playing a Super Bowl championship and the defensive guys after the game is saying we knew we had their number after the first series of the game.
Let's be honest real quick. This was the first time that the New England Patriots played a team at their best in probably the last 2 months. And that's just a realization that most fans really will not understand. When you say to Seattle played a great 49ers team. They were banged up, but they still, could compete.
They're gifted.
They played Los Angeles Rams team at their best with Devontae Adams, so they were more battle-tested. Now you come into a game now where your first quality opponent is the last game of the season in front of the world. It's no backup quarterback no more. It's no deficits at missing certain key members on your team. This was this team's best. And I know when people analyze this game and say, Will Campbell did not show up. Well, Drake May's performance was a little spotty. Well, I would say, where was the receivers for the New England Patriots? The first couple of completions for Drake May either came through a tight end or a running back. So as I'm analyzing the game, it was so much blame to kind of go around and point fingers and say, well, Josh McDaniel. Bro, everybody took turns making mistakes rather than taking turns making plays.
But people wasn't making mistakes. People was getting whipped.
They were getting whipped.
Right, that's a different thing. It wasn't that Will Campbell was making mistakes. It's when they could pick you up and drop you in Drake May's lap. There ain't nothing Josh McDaniels can do. And if you look at this offense throughout the playoffs, it was figuring out how Pop Douglas can make a play, motioning